All right, welcome back to another Uniquely Average podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm James. And today's topic is going to be top 5 board games and card games. All of us kind of enjoy, playing video games, board games, stuff like that. So we figured for this week we would do that as our topic. So, Chris, what would you say is your top 5 games or your number 5 game on your list?
So my number 5 of the list would have to be Lords of Waterdeep. It's a worker placement game where you start out with a set number of people that you put out onto the board, and you gain the resources of the location that you sent them. I can't recall what it is off the top of my head, but you get a wizard by sending it to a certain spot, and then you get a cube to identify as that. And as you would build up the workers, the cubes you're collecting, you would use those to turn in to collect cards that eventually score you points and even secretive points for the end of the game.
I definitely would have to say I understand why Lords made your list. It's definitely on my top 5 list.
It didn't make my top 5, but it's also one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely on the top of my list, but completely understandable why you would put that on your list.
It was pretty hard to cut down to 5 games as well. It was a lot harder to make the list than anticipated. A couple games I thought would make the list didn't, but what can you do?
Right.
I like how it's really it's really based on sorcerers and quests and stuff like that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's technically based out of the Dungeons and Dragon universe, right?
I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah, I believe so. Definitely one of the better games in my opinion, for sure though. Well, Matt, if it didn't make your list, what's your 5th game?
My number 5 is it's kind of a more simpler one. It's called Diamonds. It's
Dude, I forgot about that.
If anyone
I definitely forgot about Diamonds. That's a good game.
Anyone that's grown up playing hearts or spades, you'll definitely know this game and like it a lot. It's kind of that's a book. There's different suits, and you got
trick taking.
Yeah, you got to win books to add up points, and you get diamonds. There's a cool little spin on it too, where you can steal diamonds from people, and there's a vault that you put your diamonds into to keep them protected from the other players.
There's a part where they stay in front even too, right?
Yeah.
No,
and those ones can be stolen.
Right. And
dude, I like that game.
That's a good one.
It's an easy learning game for any beginner board gamers. And like I said, if you grew up playing spades or hearts, which a lot of families, I don't know if it's still a thing these days, but I grew up playing hearts with my dad, and I liked it a lot. I remember when my dad actually came over and we played it, we showed it to him. He loved it.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that time. I remember that, because some of the games we play are a little bit harder to learn, heavier, I think is the word.
Some have a lot more depth to them.
Yeah, there's a learning curve to
rules,
them.
Right.
But I remember all of us together were playing, and Matt brought out Diamonds, and we played that, and it was... Everybody picked it up instantly. I think Dad got into it super quick. I think he even wanted to buy it.
My sister got into it.
Yeah,
that's a good game.
Honestly, I forgot about that making the list.
It might have been on my top 5 had I done this again.
That's actually a really good pick, dude.
Yeah.
All right, agree. James.
So my 5th game is Seven Wonders. Definitely a top game in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, that would probably be in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with top 10. Making the list, not putting Seven Wonders on the list kind of bothered me a little bit, but I just had to go with it. But
like I said, it's my 5th game. I feel like there's a few games that I probably could have put before it, but truthfully, when you're doing a list, you gotta. I think when you're doing a top 5 list, you got to have ones that you enjoy, and I definitely enjoy playing Seven Wonders. It's definitely a fun game, and a lot of depth to it, though. That's one of those games where I feel like is a little bit harder to learn, takes a little bit more time.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's in the middle of it there. It's definitely harder to learn than Diamonds, but compared to Lords, I'd say it's easier.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about that game a lot too is I think it's 2 to 7. I don't know if I'd ever play it with 2 people, but it plays a big crowd. It goes up to 7 people,
right.
And it also doesn't mean a seven-player game is going to take 3 hours.
Right.
That game's done in 40 minutes. I
was just going to say 40, 45 minutes for sure. It's not a super long game, but an enjoyable game for sure.
And it's just cards pretty much too, which is some of the games, the setup and takedown is almost the amount of time of a game.
Oh, absolutely.
And with that one, it's you grab the deck of cards, for the amount of people that are playing, and then you just roll with it.
Right.
I feel like if you're like knowledgeable of the game Settlers of Catan, which is another big super popular
Yeah, that
game,
one's sold in like Target and stuff.
But
That's a popular
if you've played that game, I feel like that's a good segue leading into Seven Wonders because it's kind of got the same resources where you like collect like clay and wood and stuff like that. Like I remember,
same kind of concept.
I remember when I was learning Seven Wonders, I was thinking like I kept thinking back to Settlers, but
yeah, I never like actually thought of it like that. But now that you say that, it's definitely the same. Like there's no dice in Seven Wonders, but you are still collecting the resources, which help you get other cards, better cards, more resources, or bigger armies and stuff like that. So it's definitely the resource collection aspect of it. I could definitely.
Oh
see.
yeah, I forgot about the army part of Seven Wonders. That's cool too. Yeah, you
definitely.
can. There's like you build up armies to like attack the people that are like next to you, and that
to your
gets you
left and right,
and that gets you more points too because you're acquiring victory points.
What I think's cool about the army part too in Seven Wonders is like if we do play like a 5-player game, which is honestly probably like my favorite number, the person not to my left but then one more over could be building a huge army up, which if they were next to me would bother me because I'd get me negative points throughout the game.
Because
but
they're not.
Exactly. It's just like, you know what? Because you draft cards, you're looking at cards, and then you pick one to keep. And if I don't have to waste time getting the army because the people next to me aren't doing it, then I can just let that go and let them get punished for it.
Not doing it, exactly. No, I agree. And I mean, with you bringing up Settlers, Matt, too, I definitely think that would be a game that would probably be in my top 10 if we did an expanded list version.
Yeah.
But like you said,
it's the original.
The one thing about Settlers of Catan is I do enjoy it. There are a couple minor issues I have with it here and there, but that is the game. I remember we played, Matt, over at our buddies. I don't even know why you had that game, but you did. You brought it in. The one buddy actually knew all about it and taught us, and I never really played board games since I was a kid playing, this average Monopoly, stuff like that, and we played that, and halfway through, man, I loved it. Like, I used to just play video games, and now I do both.
Right, and I definitely think when I first started hanging out with you guys, it was probably one of the first games we played. I mean, it's not super complicated to learn how to play. I mean, it's the play itself is pretty self-explanatory, and it's one of those games where if you play it correctly, it can be a really enjoyable game for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I guess switching to the next one, what's fourth on your list there, Chris?
Number 4. For me, would have to be... This is actually a pretty bigger franchise in the board games, if you will, like outside of the monopolies. It would be Ticket to Ride. And if you know anything about board games, Ticket to Ride has multiple Ticket to Rides. Like there's Ticket to Ride, then there's Ticket to Ride Nordic, which I haven't enjoyed very much. Then there's also Europe, and then there's more maps. Then there's like the Pennsylvania one where you collect stocks. That's actually currently my favorite. But I'm just putting them all into one category and saying Ticket to Ride. You take cards from the board. Everybody sees what you're taking, but then you get like secret destinations like New York.
Point A to point B.
What's one of them? Not New York. Boston to Miami. Everybody knows that one.
Everyone knows that one.
You try to get your trains to connect there, and then you get that points at the end of the game. And, it's really simple. When I'm playing with newer people, it's the one I bring out.
I mean, talking about board games, it's definitely one of the more simple board games to learn.
Well, it's
I've always brought it to, like, my friends, and they always love it right away, too.
Even if they've never played board games, you either draw tickets, which, I mean, you're not doing that for the first half of the game anyway. You're drawing color cards to lay tracks, or you're laying tracks. It's one of 3 things. Right. It's boom, boom, boom. It's not... There's no downtime, really.
I mean, I definitely have Ticket to Ride on my list as well.
Me too.
I have to take a look at my list to see where it's ranked. But I have it on my list, and to be honest with you, that was the very first board game when you guys started getting me into board games that I actually did purchase. Ticket to Ride's a very fun game.
Yeah, I remember when you told me you bought it. It was like...
It's an exciting moment getting your first game, and I think Ticket to Ride was a good one. I mean... like Matt was saying, like you can take it to any of your friends' house, teach them relatively quickly, and pretty much everyone's going to enjoy the game, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think I can teach that game. If that game goes up to 5 players, if it was me and 4 new players, I could teach that game to the 4 new players confidently. There's some games...
That's a lot to teach.
Yeah, like if I was playing Lords and there was some new people, I think I could teach the game okay. I know the game well enough. I know the rules well enough, but I would also need like you to help be like, oh yeah, but this.
Just remember the certain things you forget.
Yeah, because otherwise, there's in like a game like that, if you don't teach something, somebody's going to try to do something halfway through and realize they can or can't, and be like, "Oh, if I knew that." But with Ticket, with 4 brand new people, I could teach it 5-10 minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's going to have a pretty good idea of how to play.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not listening to me when I explain the rules, hey, that's on them. But
and I think honestly, and if you don't understand completely after learning the rules by being taught the rules, once you see 1 or 2 rounds of gameplay, I think you really start to gather how it works.
Easy, yeah.
If it's only 1 or 2 people that are new, they just go last. It's that simple.
Yeah, you just have them go last, and they'll learn it quickly.
Yeah.
What's number 4 on yours, Matt?
It's a game called Survive. It's it's kind of a fun game. It's another game kind of like I like to compare it also to like Ticket to Ride. It's really easy to learn. It's another game that I always kind of like introduce to my friends, and like they seem to pick it up right away, and they love it. And it's kind of an interesting game. You start off with characters on like an island, and the island is like starting to sink basically, and you got to get as many of your characters off it as possible using there's boats that you use to you got to get onto the boat and then get to shore. But like what makes it fun, and I feel like, is it's kind of like a stick it to you kind of game to play with your friends, because you're like you become like enemies, because your mission is to like kill off everyone else. You do that using there's whales and there's sharks that like they all have different things that.
What's the big one that doesn't really move?
There's the Kraken.
The Kraken, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to like kill off all your friends and get as many of your people to shore as possible, and it's another really simple game. You basically your turn is just basically like moving your guy, and so I think it's a really fun one too, because it's funny because these last first two games you listed are games that kind of went over my head when I was making the list, and because they're obviously your games, but that's another one. I don't know if it would have made the top 5, probably top 10-ish, but that game is definitely stick it to your friends game. You definitely get into like little heated arguments as the game's going on. Someone in like last place, you might go to kill one of their people, and then they'll get real upset because they're already losing. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
that's definitely a game I never played, and I'm glad you have it on your list.
Oh, you've never played it?
You've played it.
I don't think I've played that.
I'll bring it next time.
You definitely need to bring
You gotta move your guys onto the boat.
I don't think I've played that.
But if you don't control the boat, 3 people can go on a boat, and if like 2 people are Matt's and one of them's mine, like I can't move the boat. So like you gotta like getting on a boat is more strategic than you think.
That. Maybe I have
because he let me borrow it for a while.
But it's been a long time, and I think you'd have to bring that back out.
You would like it. You would like it.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
definitely. That sounds like a fun game.
Which is why like I think that's like one of the things that like reasons that we're so into board games lately, like as of now, like it's like a social event, and something that's like really lacking like these days, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, with the technology era that we're in, I think it's nice that we have a situation or a type of event that we can do where we can all come over,
get together,
and hang out.
I would definitely say that's like the majority of why I enjoy it so much. I mean, obviously the games are fun and I like playing it, but overall it's like as you said, like, everybody comes over, either you order some pizza or whatever, and you just have a good time playing a game. You're actually sitting with them talking. I mean, I still play video games and stuff like that. I'm not like knocking that, but it's just the interaction. And then in a game like Survive, where it's like you're being mean to each other, if it ain't me being picked on, I kind of find it comical,
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. I think that definitely adds to the game for sure.
It's your number 4.
All right, so 4th on my list is Orleans. I think that's
4th.
It's 4th. Obviously, you must have it a little higher on your list.
I don't know.
But that's definitely one of my favorite games, and especially with the expansion of it, where it's a co-op game. I honestly think that's probably like you were saying before we started doing this, it's probably the best way to play it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the only way I'll play it anymore, but it's gonna be like 90% of the way now.
The last couple of times that we played it, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, we're not winning every time by any means.
I've never won at it,
but it's one of those things where it's challenging. it's an enjoyable experience. Everyone's trying to do the same thing to get those goals accomplished. And
Because what I like is how it takes Orleans, which is like a bag building game, to do stuff, but it makes it a team game, which honestly I didn't even know was a thing till I started playing board games heavily. But I like that it's us against the game, and the thing that I really like about it is it's like, yeah, we haven't won at it, but I almost feel like each time it's like one good turn away, and we could win, and that it keeps you wanting to come back and actually
that's what
get the
makes
win.
you want to keep playing.
Yeah,
Yeah, because if all you did was win at it,
wouldn't be enjoyable. Exactly. I mean, winning's fun, but only so much when you're doing it continuously.
Right.
It's nice when you have a game where you lose every once in a while, and like you said, I don't think we've actually won it,
especially
co-op. So right. So, but yeah, it's definitely number 4 on my list. We've been playing it a lot more recently than anything, and like I said, I've really enjoyed playing it. And
yeah, that's actually like one of the next games I want to play again, just because last time I think it was us two, my wife and my sister-in-law, and I think it came down to if one of us pulled a knight, we could have won, but none of us pulled the knight, and it was over after that. But it was just like
we were very, very close to having it done, which is a lot when you look at what you have to do to actually win that game.
Well, yeah, I remember when we first started playing it. I remember after the first time we played it, we all were like, "We're not winning at this game." It's. Have you played Orleans co-op?
No, I haven't.
Have you played Orleans?
I don't think so.
It's the one with the bags of your color, and then you put them. Yeah, you have played it because you kept going after. You were calling the pieces actually what they were. Like there's a knight and stuff.
Oh, a knight, the monk, the priest.
You put them in a bag. Then you pull them out,
and you put them on the board.
Put them on
Kind
your
of like
on the player board.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess it could be defined as a worker placement.
Almost. I mean, just because you pick them out of the bag and then. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's definitely a good game.
You need to check it out.
We'll have to play that as a co-op for sure. But I guess that brings us to number 3 on your list.
All right, so for number 3 on my list, it would have to be a game called Elysium. It's more of a card game than a board game. You have like pillars of certain colors. Each player has the same colors. I think it's like red, green, yellow, blue, something like that. Excuse me. But so you have the 4 pillars, and then there's cards out in the tableau for everyone to take. But like you have to have, if one of the cards has the blue color on it, you have to have that pillar to take that card. But then after you take a card, one of your 4 pillars you have to put off to the side, and then you don't have it for the round anymore. And then you just kind of, you just draft cards and then build it up, and then you just drop them down below to score more points. There's like a top and a lower part to your player board. And I'm not really explaining it the greatest, but it's a card game that I actually love that I don't feel like anyone else likes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I've played it once or twice with you, and I don't know how much I would say that I truthfully enjoy it, but it's obviously one of those games that you...
It's because you didn't understand it.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. You probably didn't teach me the best there.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
But nah,
I didn't have someone else helping me.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, I think it's a good game overall, but I can see why it's in your top 5 list. You tend to do well at it, so that makes sense. But what about you, Matt? What's next on your list?
I enjoy a card game called Smash Up. It's a little hard to explain, I guess. So there's
factions.
Yeah, there's all kinds of it's fun because there's different races. Like there's dinosaurs, there's wizards, there's elves, ninjas, zombies, robots. That's all just in the base game too. And each one has their own special abilities. Zombies can reproduce or come back to life, and you basically you pick 2 and you kind of mix them together, and you're trying to you put them on bases to eventually blow them up, and
whoever has the most points on the base scores.
Yeah,
right. If it's the most power, and then you score the most points, second, third.
Right. Yeah.
It's first to 15
victory points.
Victory points. Yeah.
I like it a lot because every time you play, it's different because you're always gonna mix different things, and you're gonna have to find ways to have them work together. Sometimes you'll have a dinosaur robot team, and next time you'll have bears and steampunks, and I don't know. I just like how every time you play it, it's different every time.
Yeah, I haven't played that in a while. I think wasn't there a time when we'd play it that we wouldn't even show the faction? We flipped them all upside down.
It would be random.
It would be random
Yeah,
because, like you were saying, it'd be a cool way to get a new faction with a new faction. That because I mean, I'm never gonna pick pirates when I played that game, but if I got them,
if you got it,
yeah, then I'd have to figure out how to make it work. Like
Pirates
you're
are
saying.
rough.
But it's been a while since I played Smash Up, but that takes me back though. We had some good times with that game for sure.
I think that's a good thing on why we did this too. Is it brings those games that we haven't played in a while and brings them back into light, so we can.
Yeah, man. Every game Matt's listed here is something I keep
played
forgetting.
in a while, yeah, exactly. I definitely think that's good. I guess bringing it back to me, number 3 on my list is a game I know Chris enjoys. 5 Tribes.
Oh yeah,
it's a good one. So that's a game.
It's okay.
That's a game where there's a bunch of different things on the board, and you have to basically bid with coin to determine who goes first, or with a order, I should say.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and
It's like the Mancala.
yeah, so
we
kind of
played.
like
Yeah,
like a Mancala type game. So you're gonna pick up the certain amount of pieces from from the board in a certain square, and then you have to drop each piece. Obviously, with your last piece landing in a specific spot. If they're all the same color in that last spot, you pick them all up and you either get them or you get to do a certain action and then get to claim that tile as yours. There's all sorts of different ways for end of game scoring and things like that, and different things that you can do within the game. There's resources, stuff like that. It's just a really strategic game, and I think that's probably one of my favorite things about the game is the amount of strategy that goes into it. With one, bidding. You don't always want to bid highest to have no money, and if you don't bid correctly, your entire turn can be gone and not even a turn that you can even do, which just makes things extremely interesting and strategic.
yeah. I've only played it once, but I remember I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, he says.
I don't know what else to say.
All right, Chris, what's second on your list then?
Number 2 is the game that's actually been mentioned already by James, and it would be Orleans, and then in parentheses I'd put with the expansion Invasion. Just really been liking the game a lot now lately. I've always really liked it, but then with the expansion to make it a co-op, a team game, it's kind of elevated it up there to number 2 for me. I still very much like the original, the Versus one. Like I said earlier, I think I'll only play the expansion or the co-op, but once we start winning at that, then we'll go back to the Versus. I think there's a lot of strategic moves in the game between putting the pieces into your bag and then pulling them out, because you can only use what you pull out. And
well, right, and then with depending on how many you can pull out, I mean,
exactly,
you can't always pull out every single piece that you can, and you can only pull up out to 7, I think, is it?
I think 8's the max.
Is it 8? So I mean, you could have 15 guys, but only being able to pull out 8. I mean, it really depends on what you're pulling out and what you can play. So
exactly, and like if your bag's filled with a certain piece that's no longer valuable to you at that stage in the game, you need to, there's a spot on the board to send it away to where it gets out of your bag. And like,
you can even get stuff for that.
Exactly. So you get, just even if it's a couple coins or something, I mean, coins, victory points at the end of the game anyway. So, but I just think there's a lot of strategy into just what goes into your bag, what comes out, then when to get it out of your bag so you don't have to use it anymore. And just the overall, like, moving around the main board part, building up houses or castles, whatever they're called, and you can block people that way from going there. And it's just, I think there's a lot of like really strategic moves to be made in the game.
Yeah, if you're extremely smart with how you play it, I mean, it can be an extremely challenging game for other people that you're playing with. I mean, if you're smart about it. What's number 2 on yours, Matt?
It's a very, very simple game. It's called Blockus.
Oh, Blockus.
It's
I love that game, dude.
If you're a fan of Tetris, you're definitely going to love this game. You get very Tetris-like pieces, and basically you put them on the board. It's like the board is like a grid board, so like the pieces fit into the board, and there's 4 different colors. It's only a 4-person game, but
I think it should only be played with 4 people too.
Yeah, it's not the same without 4 people.
So if you need a group of just 4 of you, but you're definitely going to enjoy it. you start laying your pieces, and like I said, they're very Tetris-like looking pieces, and you can only connect them on the corners. And your goal is to basically, like, one person will lay their piece, the next person will lay theirs, and you just keep going around. And, you know,
everyone has the same type of pieces, correct? They're all the same.
and
there's only one of each.
It's fun because, like, as you start getting halfway through the game, it starts getting really intense. You know, the board starts filling up, and you got to place your pieces strategically, you know, because your pieces can only the corners can touch. But that means there's room to, like, sneak around other people, block off other people, kind of screw them over.
Block us.
And
block
the goal is to what? Be the person that plays the most, right?
Yeah, at the end of the game, whoever has the least amount of pieces is the winner.
You ever run out of pieces? You ever play them all?
I have.
Damn. I've never done it.
It's only happened once.
I don't know if I've ever done that. It's definitely a tough game, though.
But it's a lot of fun because, like I said,
when you have to use that one piece,
yeah,
you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sneaking around you got to do. You kind of like got to play. You got to plan ahead a couple moves.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But I think it's a lot of fun. It's another one of those easy learning games. So, you know, you and your friends will definitely, I think, enjoy it.
Yeah, I like that. It's a really fun game. When you say it's easy to learn, I would say it's probably you just put the game down. And, we're going.
There's not
your pieces can only touch the corners, and you have to start in a certain corner. Other than that, let's go.
Everyone works their way towards the middle. It's pretty self.
I think on the box it says like ages 7 and up. So I mean, I'm not saying it's like a childish game, but it's easy and it's a lot of fun. Everyone, easy games, any person of any age, I think would like it because it's.
How do you when you play it? Do you rush to the middle, or do you kind of like hang out in your corner?
And see, that's the thing too. You got to plan your strategy. You got to decide if you're going to go start getting into.
I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way.
I was going to say I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I definitely know that when I play, I try to strategically make it to. You got to make it a decent amount into the middle because if you corner yourself too much in your own corner and the other people encroach you and force you into your own corner, you're already off to a bad start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I like hanging out in my corner and then. If it's like us three playing and someone else, and then like you head to the middle, but you kind of cross that line that Matt's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So then I let you two kind of go at it while I'm just kind of like hovering around in my area.
Yeah. No, like I said, like you guys said, it's definitely a strategy game, definitely an easy game, but definitely one of those fun games for sure.
It's a game. If you play it, when it ends, you're gonna flip the board over to get the pieces out, and you're gonna play it again. It's so quick
one,
too.
Right? It's a quick one, which is nice. So if you want to play multiple times, or if you want to get a game done in a short period of time, you got something going on later, you have that ability.
And I see that that happens a lot to me too, especially with like the people that you introduce it to, because. After that first game, they're like, "Okay, now I know what I'm doing. I want to do this. Yeah. Give me another chance,
right.
Where I know what I'm doing from the beginning."
Right.
And yeah, I like that because and then I'm like thinking, like, all right, I'm getting you into board games,
right? It's all
which is always a good thing.
Exactly. I mean, we love introducing people to board games. I mean, you guys introduced me not that long ago, and I don't want to say addicted now, but I mean, I definitely enjoy it. You know, I enjoy coming over here doing games and.
It's a fun hobby that's kind of like under the radar, if you will. Like I don't know. I think some people like.
Probably
I think you just gotta get them into it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely probably looked down upon, especially like people that are our age.
Yeah, a little bit on the older side playing some games, but at the same time, like Matt just said, I mean, you got to get them into it. And once they play a couple of these games once or twice, dude, it's tough to not want to play it.
And I think Blockus is a great game, too, actually. Like
everyone on Matt's list is pretty good, dude. I'm not going to lie. I think that a lot of those would be in my top 10. But my number 2 game is one that has already been mentioned. Like I had said earlier on, Ticket to Ride. That's my number 2. The main reason I put that as my number 2 is, like I said earlier, it was the first game I ever bought. After playing that a lot when I first came over, it was one of the first games you guys introduced me, if not the first game you guys introduced me to. It's just a lot of fun. Everyone can play it. It's easy to learn, and just it's one of those good party games for sure.
Oh yeah. I
mean, you can play a decent amount of people with it. Like you guys said, it's easy to learn. So.
With Ticket to Ride too, obviously it made my list earlier. Is I remember we were talking about Catan, how we had gotten into games. And then, I kind of looked up a couple. And then one year for Christmas, actually, Matt, you had gotten me Ticket to Ride. I don't even know if I knew much about it or anything at the time. But you had gotten it for me for Christmas one year. And it was just like, after playing that, it was just
I
off to
did?
the races. Yeah, you got me. Ticket to Ride, Pandemic, and there was one other one. It was like 3 games you got me for Christmas one year. It was
Wow.
pretty sick. It's badass. But yeah, I can't think of the other one right now, but it was definitely Pandemic and Ticket to Ride that you got me. And
Yeah, it's a good game, man. I enjoy it a lot. I
And
really
like you
do.
saying, it's the first game you bought. Like I've seen that in my times of passing too with my friends. Like they'll come up to me like a week later and they'll tell me that like they went to the store and bought it because they enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said,
And that gives me like a special feeling.
yeah, dude, it's
Yeah,
like,
no,
yeah,
definitely.
you're part of it now.
What's cool is like I've played it a few times with my family and a couple of my close friends, and my brother actually recently he came home one day from work really randomly and was like, "Dude, we're playing Ticket to Ride,"
That's awesome.
and I was like, "What and why?" And he's like, "One of my friends at work was talking about it, and it just got me really wanting to play it." And I was just like you guys said, it gave me that like kind of like that good feeling, like I totally introduced you to this game. I'm glad you're starting to like really enjoy it. So,
Right.
but that's my number 2. I guess the real question here is, Chris, is what's number one on your list? What's that number one game?
That's going to have to be without a question, without doubt, 5 Tribes, which you had mentioned as your number 3 or something
Yeah, I
like
believe
that.
it was number
Yeah.
3 on my list. Yeah.
I mean, I'll respect it at number 3. But everything you said about it is what I like about it. I think there's a lot of end of the game scoring, which there's some games that we play when it's like one person is like, let's just get this over with. I didn't win. I'm not leaving it, but I want it to end.
That's definitely one of those games where you think you're doing well, and then all the end of game scoring happens, and you didn't even.
Yeah, somebody that you thought there's no chance just pulls it out because of how they played it. I think there's a lot of strategy in the game. Obviously, after each player's turn goes in a round, the strategy changes. But then I actually enjoy the having to like think about it real quick on my
Right.
feet.
The board's forever changing.
Exactly.
It's never the same ever. I mean, and the nice part about that too is setting it up. It's never going to be.
You're never going to play the same
You'll
game
never
twice.
play the same game twice.
And I mean, I've played it where I go after collecting cards. You can collect cards, and if you have up to like 9 different cards, that gets you like 40, maybe more than 40 points. I played it where I go after that. I play it where I go after like the genie cards or the yellow pieces. I mean, I don't know all the names, but there's every piece is valuable except for the blue pieces, in my opinion. And I think no matter which route you choose to take, you have a chance to win. And
Yeah, I think we've all taken it different routes. I mean, I've seen people win by taking those resource cards. I've seen people win by taking just the certain spaces on the board by getting the higher point value.
The 15, the 10, because you could get the genie card that lets you claim tiles that nobody's on, and it's like. You get that, then you piggyback it and get some elders to where you can use it, and then you just start claiming all these big tiles, because if they're empty, it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to get a guy onto the tile and then get a guy back to get the tile by killing it with like the red pieces.
Right.
And while I'm trying to do that, if you have the one card, you're just claiming that tile, which 15 points is big. I mean,
absolutely.
That could be what gets you from second to first. So without a doubt, it's 5 Tribes. I enjoy it every time I play it. It's kind of it takes a game or two to grasp it fully, but once you do, the game goes quick. I mean, when we play our 4-player games, it's not even an hour or anything like that.
If you play with a couple of people that know what they're doing and everyone plays and is on the same page, and you're not taking a lot of breaks while you're playing it, it can definitely be a quicker game for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely a good game. I'm glad you have it number 1 on your list.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that.
Oh,
I knew
for
it.
sure.
I had a feeling it'd be up there for you. Matt, buddy.
What are you going to surprise us with now,
I can't
man?
wait to hear
I wouldn't have guessed any of these, man.
Well, I mean, seeing as how I haven't said it yet, it's probably pretty obvious.
Oh, it's Ticket.
Yeah, it's Ticket.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to waste too much time talking about it because we've each talked about it. We've talked about it 3 times already, but it's.
Let's just say something that it's on all of our.
It's really good. It's
definitely one of those games.
It's so much fun.
If you haven't played it, you need to try.
It's and like it just. I was actually recently like in the hospital for a little while, and I was playing it on my app with my brother and my sister, and like.
Dude, we stop doing that, dude.
I was just I always love it. It's so much fun. It's strategic, and it's
a good one. Definitely.
Do you have a favorite one?
I guess just the original.
Yeah.
But
the original is definitely probably my favorite.
It's pretty fun. It's
The Norway or the Norwegian version, is that what it is?
We call it the Norway one just because we lived in Norway, but I think it's technically Ticket to Ride Nordic.
Yeah, that's a good one, dude. I mean, that's the 3-player version.
Ticket to Ride.
So it's
my
the
number
same.
one.
It's the same thing. But yeah, that's a good one. I guess mine is also another one that's been talked about a bunch. That's number one on my list. I'm sure Chris knows exactly what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But Lords of Waterdeep. It's been one that's was on the list already. But it's definitely number one for me. We played it a decent amount. It's one of those games that I feel like I do pretty well at almost every time we play it. The last time we played it was the 7-player game.
That was fun.
That's what's cool about it too. It's one of the few games we can play with a lot of people.
Right, and I think Matt unfortunately won that game the last time.
Yeah, he won it, but then we thought he might not have won it. But then it wasn't counted correctly, I think.
Yeah,
and then, he won it. That was cool. That was a good win.
No, there's a lot of memories that I have with that game. I mean, let's be honest. I think we played that the day before your wife ended up having your son. So I mean,
right before we went to the hospital, we played that game.
I think it was just
we wrapped it up and drove to the hospital.
There's just a lot of memories of that game. It's one of those games that I really enjoy, and I think it really kind of solidified me enjoying board games for sure.
Yeah, it's an evergreen. I mean, I like it. I've always liked it. It obviously made the list, but there was definitely a time there where I'd kind of forgotten about it, if you will. It's obviously it's cult of the new. You know what I mean? I go out and buy a new board game. I'm going to try to play it, but instead of just having it sit on my shelf.
Right.
And we recently played it, and then we played it again with that 7-player game, which I really, really enjoyed.
I really enjoyed the 7 people. That was cool. I don't think I've ever played that with 7 people before. So to see how it played completely different versus when it's 3 or 4 or even 5 people.
The board just closes off so fast.
We got less workers to play.
Yeah, you get less workers to start. You can't go to the places you want to go to. It makes getting that start player extremely important.
In a 3-4 player game,
it doesn't really
whatever, I'll go last. I don't care. But 7 players, dude, but your turn rolls around on with your first guy in the round, and it's where am I going?
Yeah.
I remember for a long time that one game we played too. I was the Lord for when you place on the Lord, that means you get to go first, which like we were saying, it makes a huge deal. But you're to my right, so you kept going last.
Yeah, it sucked.
And
dude.
that you hated that.
Going last was
funny.
rough, man. And it's you don't want to necessarily waste a turn on going to that spot to get it.
Yeah.
But at some point, you just got to bite that bullet because going last every time. So you're going 7th.
Well, yeah,
that's the name of the game, Lord of Waterdeep, because you got to be the Lord.
You got to be there.
You got 2 workers per round, and you want to waste one of them. You get a card, but you get a card and you get to go first. It's ugh. I know I need to, but and that's what makes that game cool. And that's what makes all the games cool is when you got those interesting decisions of what do I do, and then you either make the right choice or a couple rounds later you're why didn't I do that?
Right.
It's
there's just a lot to it that makes it just a lot of fun. You can play it a ton of different ways.
I would comment that I didn't mention for me when I mentioned Lords of Waterdeep. I do specify that it has to be with the expansion.
Agreed.
With the corruption. I can't think of what the expansion's actually called, but it adds a corruption track, which I really won't get into, but I will specify that it is with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a better way to play with the expansion for sure. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys, huh? I mean...
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a good list. Matt, I want to play Diamonds now.
Yeah, Diamonds are even Blockers.
Right.
But either way, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for checking out another Uniquely Average podcast, a podcast about anything and everything.
Thanks a lot, guys. Till next time.
See you later.
I just wanted to end with, I think that playing board games is a good way to get conversation going with friends. It's a great way. I mean, hell, board games even got Michael to open up to Toby, and no one thought that was possible. Take it easy, guys.